Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. We have our next guest standing by. It is exactly 8:42 a.m. And of course, we'll be talking to this amazing young woman right up until the top of the hour when we will be taking our news bulletin of the morning. That, of course, is at 9 o'clock. We are looking at the International Day of Solidarity with Palestine, 29th of November 2023, this time around. Women Against Violence, a discussion on peace. It's a sisters only event. And of course, it is about the 16 days of no violence against women and children. I was having a very interesting discussion off air with my guest, and that, of course, is you, Munirah Osman, about judgment. So let's start from that point. Um, Regarding these 16 days come around, I believe that they nearly not enough. It's not enough time being spent on such an important discussion, because if these issues are not addressed, we don't only have broken families, we have broken extended families, communities, and society as a whole. I think more needs to be done. I think more support needs to be given to our women and girl children, but we also need to focus on our boy children and the men that actually perpetrate the abuse. Because it's no good rallying around the woman who's been abused, but if the man doesn't get the necessary help to be a better man, to be a better version of himself, he is going to continue abusing in whichever relationship he finds himself in. So, assalamu alaikum to you, Munirah Osman. Welcome to the program. Lovely to have you here. You, of course, are um, really representing, let's see, the AMAL, which is the Association of Muslim Accountants and Lawyers. A very warm welcome.
Wa alaikum assalam. Shukran for having me on. I am very, very excited about sharing with you some of the information that we are planning and we are going to be hosting for the 16 days of activism and for today, the 29th of November, which is the International Day of Solidarity with Palestine. So I look forward to having a chat with you, Julie.
Okay, and I like the fact that you're marrying the two, the solidarity with Palestine, because we also need to understand that, inshallah, once the genocide ends, those women, men, and children are going to be needing lots and lots and lots of spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical support in more ways than we can even imagine. But let's focus to our current situation in South Africa. Why is AMAL focusing on these issues? Is it the first time or is this a regular event?
Well, let me just tell you a little bit about AMAL and why we're focusing on these issues. Well, AMAL, as you've mentioned, it stands for the Association of Muslim Accountants and Lawyers. And so it's a group of lawyers, generally, a whole lot of accountants, business people, people in commerce, etc. It's that kind of professional association. It's a non-profit organization. We have our main objectives basically is the whole idea of empowerment of our professionals, our membership, etc., in the various fields that they subject matter experts in. So it's whether it's legal, accounting, banking, commercial sectors, etc. But more than that, in terms of the legal arm of AMAL, we're very much a human rights advocate for all of the human rights issues globally affecting humankind, as we say. And so that's basically our entry into why we want to look at and obviously be a part of the campaign in the 16 days of activism and an active participant in all the campaigns for the freedom of the Palestinian people.
Okay, so tell us what's happening at the Al Ansar Hall at 189 West Road in Overport. And it is, of course, happening this evening from 5 to 8. From
Yes.
5 o'clock to
Well,
8 o'clock in the evening, of course.
so the 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children spans the period the 25th of November up until the 10th of December. And the 10th of December is also quite a significant date in the calendar because that's the International Day for Human Rights. Okay, so International Human Rights Day, as we call it. Now, this year, globally, the theme for the 16 days of activism is a very, very interesting one. It says unite, hashtag unite, invest to prevent violence against women and girls. And when we were thinking about it at AMAL and saying, what are we going to do this year in terms of the campaign for 16 days of activism? And due to the atrocities that were being committed in Palestine, and many, or rather more than the men, were the women and the children that were impacted upon. And so we thought that this would be an excellent time. And then it coincides with the 29th of November, with this International Day with Solidarity of Palestine. And so in order to bring the two together, we said that this is an opportune moment to raise the issue during the 16 days of activism and today on the 29th. So today, this evening, as you mentioned, is basically a discussion. It's a discussion with all women. And what we're looking at is we're looking at how we can come together and inspire peace amongst nations, and more so amongst women. So it is that particular kind of entry that we're making this evening, and we want to be able to deal with what is happening in terms of no violence against women and children in South Africa. And we have one panel that will deal with that. And we have the second panel that is going to look at exactly the same thing and how it's panning out globally, more specifically in Palestine. So that's a sort of very, very brief introduction to what we're planning to host this evening.
And obviously, the violence we're seeing being perpetrated against Palestinian women and children is totally unimaginable, unprecedented. I had a guest here, a politician and a member of parliament last week, who has decided very openly, taken the responsibility to refer to the genocide. He said it's not a genocide any longer, Julie. It is the Holocaust. It is the Holocaust happening there and now. The inhumanity that is being displayed, it's unbelievable. But be that as it may, at tonight's function, are you going to allow women to share their stories? And are women
Absolutely.
willing to do that?
Well, absolutely. You know, I was saying to you in the preview that we definitely, what we had in mind when we planned this was to create a safe space for women to share some of their stories. And so while we will have a few talks, etc., we will also give women an opportunity to be able to share their stories if they are willing to. And some of them have already indicated that they would like to. And that's exactly what we want to do today. We want to be able to allow, you know, sometimes you have things that trouble you, that hurt you, that put you in a vulnerable situation. And when you just share it all out with somebody else, as you say, you lighten the burden of your heart, it seems as though your problem is resolved because now you're not alone in this anymore, but you have a whole community with you. It might be a community of women this time, which can grow and grow and grow into a much bigger community that can be that help and assistance to take you and grow forward.
And I guess just being heard, just the fact that people are hearing the trauma that you've been experiencing does lighten the load. Whether you do understand the situation or not, but just being heard is sometimes all you need. That being said, very sadly, there's also the issue of judgment. And I kind of wonder, really, I think these women are brave, to be sharing their stories in such an open forum. And we hope and pray that the other women that are attending will be respectful enough not to go and repeat what they've heard in this forum. Inshallah, and as Muslims, we should upkeep that, the respect and the confidentiality. And I do hope that you will make that announcement before or, when you're introducing the speakers, etc., because I think that is crucial. And the other thing that I'd like to also comment on, and then I'd like your response on, is oftentimes when we talk about abuse against women and children, we assume that this only happens in poorer households because they are dysfunctional, because they're not educated, because they haven't raised their children properly, and because they've been exposed to all the darker side of life, and that's why these things, play out in their lives. That's not that's not true.
Absolutely.
Abuse and violence happens right across the spectrum. The richest of the rich are also vulnerable in these situations. Your thoughts?
Well, just before I tell you my thoughts on that, just to share with you that when we were planning this, and I did mention to you earlier on when we had a preview chat, that we've been very, very careful about the sensitivities of women who want to share. And it is one of the reasons why it's a women-only function, for one. Not that we think that men should not be part of, fora where all of these things are discussed, but it was specifically in order to create a safe space for women to be able to share. So that's exactly what we planned in that particular event. And like I said, there was talk and a request for live streaming this evening's event, but in the face of keeping the sensitivities and the privacy and the confidentiality of these women who have been bold enough to share with us, that we have decided not to live stream in a public way. In terms of the idea of judging, and in terms of having to deal with the fact that abuse is not restricted to poverty stricken homes, but it is across the board, that comes with the whole idea of understanding the concept of abuse. So abuse is generally, we know, we speak about it as being violent and abuse, but violence is not only physical violence, and abuse is not only that kind of abuse. We know that in marriages as well, the very, very sort of prominent abuse is emotional abuse, or a lot of times as you said, in the affluent homes, it would definitely be financial abuse. So there's a very, very wide ranging kind of definition of what abuse is, and it is in no way limited to any particular sector in the community. It can hit the poorest of the poor and the richest of the rich. It is not limited. As I would say, abuse is not discriminatory in the way it happens at all.
Yes, I agree with you 101%. It cuts across color, creed, nationality, religion, etc., etc. At the end of the day, we're all human. It's just this that differentiates us, the color of our skin. That's the only differentiator. Um, all around the world, or in most parts of the world, when we have these type of forums playing out, it is mainly, or I shouldn't be generalizing, but it is mainly women forums that pop up and offer support and hear other women's stories and learn from it. But there's a gap here, Munirah. There's a huge gap here. How can we make a difference having these discussions, these forums, etc., when the men are not included? And I do hear you. We can't include them in sessions where women are going to be sharing their stories, but they need to hear the stories. That's the only time they're going to shift their mindset. And if they are abusive in any way or form, they need to rethink and start learning new behaviors. And I'm wondering at AMAL, I'm more than certain that you have Maulanas, Imams, etc., all on as part of, the committee or members of AMAL. These talks need to go out from the members.
Well,
We've heard, Marv, we've heard enough of, and alhamdulillah for that. We do need the constant reminders of read your 5 times salah, read it on time, read it in jama'ah, zakah, fitra, pay it, etc. All of that we know. We don't need to rehash that over and over again at the members. And we do need a gentle reminder from time to time. But your spirituality, your humanity is all tied into being a good human being. And these are issues that make you a good human being.
look, you're raising a very, very important issue, Julie, and quite sensitive to our community as well. But, first things first, in any problem, you cannot just put out fires, and for a long time, that's what we've been doing with the whole issue of domestic violence and violence against women and children, is that, at the alarming rate at which it was happening, and increasingly so, that the South African Parliament had to pass legislation, et cetera, to try and combat what was going on. And we still have not resolved the issue of violence in our community. But we need to start looking at the root causes. And I agree with you that we cannot be limited in these fora to limiting the participation to women only and excluding men. And I don't think that there are forums that do it specifically because they don't want men there, but there's possibly reasons. But there's different layers at which you would obviously deal with this issue. And so in many forums that I have been present as well, men have been present and they've been part of solutions, etc., in particular instances. So I think that including them is really, really important, because we're all in this together, right? And a big part of the problem are the men, because most of the time it is the men who are perpetrating the abuse and the violence against our women and children. So that is definitely something that is happening. And I cannot remember the name of a particular organization, but it is a male-dominated organization that looks at the issue of violence against women and children. And I salute those men who have come together to deal with the problem in that particular way.
Is that a Muslim men's organization, or is it
No, it's not. I just want to comment on the very sensitive issue you raised about how the Muslim community is not dealing with the issue. And I think, and I'm saying this from a personal point of view, I think the Muslim community, together with our ulama, are embarrassed that this is happening in the Muslim community. And it's easier and safer and all of those things to just sweep it all under the carpet and act as if it doesn't happen. It's just that when you do lift up that carpet, that dust will throttle you. And we have to accept that it is a phenomenon in the Muslim community. And you're correct. We have to use every and all platforms that we can to be able to address the issue and to obviously make our Muslim community aware that we're not immune to this. We're not immune to, because we're Muslim, we're immune to violence. In the days of the height of HIV/AIDS, we were Muslim and we were immune to HIV until research showed otherwise. And so you're seeing exactly the ostrich head in the sand mentality again, that we're immune to this. But I don't think we're immune to it. I think we're embarrassed. I think we don't want to be seen to be a community that has these kinds of things occurring within the community. And we need to be brave, we need to be bold, and we need to go out there, because the longer we deny it, the more it's going to happen. So we need to really take the bull by the horns, as we say, and we need to deal with the issues as they arise.
Munirah, that's all we have time for. It's been absolutely lovely talking with you. Good luck with the event this evening. And you're the type of guest I'd love to have on a regular basis to talk, and not stop talking about issues that beset us as a community. Shukran so much. Congrats on an amazing event for tonight. And I know it's going to be amazing. Alhamdulillah. Till the next time, keep us in your du'as, and Assalamu alaikum to you.
Wa alaikum assalam. I just want to say thank you to all the people who have partnered to make this event possible. Caring Sisters Network, KZN Palestine Solidarity Forum, Youth for Palestine, the Islamic Medical Association, Al Ansar Foundation, United for Palestine, and of course, AMAL, Association of Muslim Accountants and Lawyers. Shukran to all of you for making tonight happen.
And shukran to you for bringing this information to us, talking with us, and just making us all the more aware of our roles and responsibilities. And let's stop worrying about judgment and forge ahead, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum to you.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
It is exactly 9:01, and of course that means it's time for the news bulletin of the morning. That's where we're going to go to right now, and when we come back, lots more interviews coming your way on this Wednesday morning, the 29th of November 2023.